I'm Samantha Deal, and welcome to the special Women's History Month interview. I'm here today with Parks and Recreation Director LuAnn Maisner. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely, thank you.
So to begin, can you tell us about your background?
Sure. I grew up on the west side of the state in Muskegon, and our neighborhood only had boys in it. So I grew up playing a lot of sports. And then when I was in school, I played sports in school, and it came time to go to college, and it's like, well, what do you want to major in? And I didn't really know. And I quickly figured out, I guess the one thing you should do is follow your passion. And that was something I knew and totally enjoyed. And that is how I ended up in Parks and Recreation. And get my bachelor's degree from Grand Valley State University in Parks and Recreation Administration and a minor in business. And I also played on the tennis team. I had tennis and basketball scholarships through college. And so when I graduated, I ended up being hired by West Shore Tennis Club in Muskegon, a private club, and was their teaching tennis pro. And then a couple years after I started as the pro, I also became the manager. So my first dip of my toe in the recreation world was in commercial recreation. But I always wanted to be in community recreation. And so I was very happy that there was an opening with the City of Muskegon, Department of Leisure Services, for the Recreation and Marina Supervisor. And that is how I got into community recreation. And I just found my niche. It was definitely, I definitely picked the right profession for me. And I worked for the City of Muskegon for 5 years, and during that time I met my future husband, who lived in the Lansing area, and that's how I ended up in the greater Lansing area, and then also was hired by the city of DeWitt as their first director of Parks and Recreation. And that was a really great first director's job for me, because it was a smaller community, but it still provided the opportunity to learn all the skills of being a director, of writing a recreation plan, applying for grants, and building park facilities. And I was there for 6 years. And then the job became open here in Meridian Township in 1999. And so I was hired as our first director of Parks and Recreation here. And I always felt that it was real important to live in the community where you worked. And so my family all moved here. We live in Okemos. And it happened to be perfect timing because our oldest was ready to start kindergarten. So anyway, it was just kind of meant to be here. And so I've been here in Meridian 23 years.
Well, thank you for coming here, first of all. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
That's incredible. 2 first-time directors.
Yeah.
Did you know that you always wanted to be a director, or did the opportunity just kind of present itself?
There's so many different areas of Parks and Recreation or recreation you can go into. And, at one point I thought I wanted to be on a cruise ship and be like a cruise director. And there's just so many opportunities. But once I got in as being the Recreation and Marina Supervisor, I was running all the sports programs, all the special events, lifeguards at the beach. And I really enjoyed it. It was a great foundation for me. But I knew I wanted to move up the administrative food chain. And so when I came here to the Lansing area, I really started looking for a director's job. But I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. So I started with a small community, and everything just really worked out great. Couldn't be happier with my career.
Good. And now here in your director position for the township, what does that entail?
Oh, we have so many great things going on here in Meridian Township. So when we started out, it was the youth recreation and sports and special events. And then we have the Harris Nature Center and Snell Tower Recreation Center, the Farmers Market, the Historical Village. And then land preservation millage passed. And for the first few years, we weren't involved in that because it was more in the acquisition stages of the program. But now that it's mainly stewardship, we have a full-time stewardship coordinator, and then together with our Harris Nature Center staff, we have a very strong environmental staff here at the township. And then we have 2 people running our recreation programs, and great maintenance crew. Probably the most important piece of the whole puzzle is the maintenance crew.
I was going to say, I feel like people don't realize how much work goes into maintaining these parks.
Right. It's a lot of hard work, and they're very talented and skilled, and so we're just very fortunate to have the people that we do here.
And how many employees are under the Parks and Recreation Department?
We have 13 people, and then me, I'm number 14.
Okay.
And then a number of summer part-time staff, and the Harris Nature Center has they've got 2 full-time people, and then probably a handful of people that help out because they're open and have summer camps, and anyway, and then we have a park ranger program where when our office hours are 8 to 5. But most people are recreating after work and on the weekends, and we didn't have anyone out in the parks at that time. So a few years ago, we started a park ranger program that is not an enforcement type park ranger. It's more of a public relations park ranger. And it's just someone to be out in the parks at night and on the weekends and helping people with their pavilion rentals and being out at the ball fields and just being a source of information for the public.
Would you say there are any women in your life who influenced you in your career at all?
Well, I would have to say probably the number one person would be my mom. And she was an amazing person. And we owned a dry cleaners. We had a family business growing up, and she was leading the front and all the business part. My father was the dry cleaner, and but our managed our whole family and the meals, and she was the disciplinarian of the family. She was like the whole shooting match, all in one person. But the thing that I can remember the most is there was never any drama. Everything was very even-keeled, and I learned a lot from her. She made things happen, and she was the social coordinator for the family, but she just kind of did it all. And I've always aspired to be her, and she has a huge influence on my life and what I've become.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice for any women who are looking to get into leadership roles themselves?
A few things, I guess. One is, and this would almost pertain to anyone, but make sure that you build a solid foundation. Because if you start at the highest part and you haven't paid your dues and learned the information and how things operate below, it's probably going to be more difficult to be respected and also to serve as a source and a mentor for your staff. So I would say get a really firm foundation and work your way up. The second thing I would say is to surround yourself with talented people, because then great things happen when you have people who can really elevate the overall team. And then personally, I value that I come to work and I'm the same person every day. And a lot of times, you have difficulties outside of work, and you come in, you didn't sleep well, or something, your child did something you didn't really appreciate. But my staff has always been able to count on me being the same person every single day, and I just think that is very important as you're trying to run and be the leader of a team. So those would probably be my recommendations.
Those are good recommendations.
Yeah.
I'll have to take note of those myself. Is there anything else you wanted to share about your time with the Parks Department, or any last thoughts?
No, when I started out, Parks and Recreation was probably a little more male-dominated field, and so my mentors and the folks I looked up to were mainly men, and I learned a lot moving forward through my career. And I think just I'm probably, positive and open and being a good listener, and I'm not really a black and white person, I'm pretty gray. And so when we're dealing with the public and they want one thing, but you need to kind of make sure that you can maintain the integrity of our programs, for instance, I try to do the best we can to give them a little bit what they need, but then also we want to make sure that we have great continuity here and it's fair to everyone. And I think my mom was great at working with people, and she was a people person, and I did learn a lot from that, and that is probably one of my strengths, is my engagement with others. And when I started at the tennis club, every job I've had has been a stepping stone to the next. And working at the tennis club, I met a lot of very influential people. And when I moved to work for the city of Muskegon, I was able to go back and utilize many of those folks as sponsors, and to get them engaged in more community-wide events. And then when I came here and was the director for the city of DeWitt, I gained a lot of knowledge and experience for what I needed to end up here as the pinnacle of my career here in Meridian Township.
Well, again, thank you again for being with us
You
and
bet.
for your entire department and all you do for all of our 44,000 residents, I believe is the number. So thank you again. I'm Samantha Deal with this special Women's History Month interview with Parks and Recreation Director LuAnn Maisner. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.